Hey guys, so today we're going to go over the difference quotient. You'll be learning more about the difference quotient and in further detail on how it's applied, but for now we're just going to use it from an algebra perspective. So this is going to be the difference quotient. Note that you are given a function f of x. So we already have f of x, which is given to us. We just need to find out what f of x plus h is. And again, remember that when it's in the parentheses, it just tells you what to replace the x with. We're replacing x with x plus h. We're using the same function, but we're just replacing the x with x plus h. So I'm going to try to color coordinate this. Instead of 3x squared, it's going to say 3x plus h squared. Again, anything with plus or minus needs to be in parentheses. And then plus 5x, we'll say plus 5, and then in parentheses, x plus h. And finally, minus 1 comes down. So remember PEMDAS. Exponents come first because there's nothing we can do in the parentheses. They're not like terms. That would be x plus h squared. When you have an expression, anything with plus or minus being squared, this does not mean x squared plus h squared. This means the literal definition of exponents. It is being multiplied by itself twice. So you have to FOIL or distribute. So first, x times x would give me x squared. Outer x times h is positive xh. Inner x times h is positive xh. And last, which would be h times h, and that is h squared. So you do have two like terms. You have positive xh, and technically in front of them the coefficient is 1, so that would give me positive 2xh. Everything else comes down exactly the same. The x squared comes down, the h squared comes down. So we're going to bring down the 3 and replace this x plus h squared with x squared plus 2xh plus h squared. You leave it in parentheses because you haven't technically distributed the 3 in front of it yet. But you can start by distributing the 5 since there's nothing else to be done for that second term. So that would give me 5x plus 5h, and then minus 1 comes right down as well. So from here, we're going to distribute the 3. And I know this is a lot of algebra, but it's what difference quotient is. So we're going to end up with 3x squared plus 6xh plus 3h squared. Everything else that we haven't used just comes right down. So 5x, 5h, minus 1. So this is f of x plus h. Notice that that's the first term. We have that here. And then we're going to subtract it to f of x. Usually I would just be lazy and put it on the end here, but I don't have enough room. So f of x plus h, I'm going to write this exact expression all over again, just on the end, 3x squared plus 6xh plus 3h squared plus 5x plus 5h minus 1 minus f of x. So minus, and in parentheses, because f of x is an expression, 3x squared plus 5x minus 1, and the whole thing is over h. Now, in this case, I am going to be a little lazy and just distribute this negative sign and write what happens right above it. So this would give me negative 3x squared minus 5x minus 1. And I'm going to go looking to combine like terms. So I have 3x squared, negative 3x squared. That's gone. I have 6xh. Nothing combines with that. Bring that down. The 3h squared, I don't see anything for that one as well. Bring it down. And then I have positive 5x, negative 5x. So that's gone. Bring down the 5h, nothing's happening there. And afterwards I have -1 and -1, which gives me -2. All over, ooh, sorry, I warned you about the straight lines though, over h. Okay, so I mean the rest from here is just how you would approach it algebraically. Oh, wait, I'm so sorry. This is a +1 because when you distribute the negative, that would give you +1. I'm sorry about that. So there's no -2 because I have -1, +1. So that adds up to 0. Okay, so like I was saying, what you do from here on out is pretty much just an algebra approach. It is multiple choice answers, so sometimes you may see it this way. If it were me just doing free response, I would factor out the GCF, which in this case would be h. They all have h in common, and that would leave 6xh with just 6x, and then 3h squared with just 3h, and 5h would just be 5. And I would do this only because if you can factor it out, you can divide it out. And you would be left with 6x plus 3h plus 5. All right, and then we are moving on to another one. This one's going to be fairly longer today with the difference quotient, just because the process itself is a bit longer. So again, I'm going to start by finding out what f of x plus h is. So this one's a little nicer because if I just replace the x with x plus h, I mean, nothing happens. You could put it in parentheses, but then again, nothing happens. So just writing the difference quotient up here. I have f of x plus h, which is 3 over x plus h. And I have f of x, which is 3 over x, so I'm going to subtract that. And the whole thing is all over h. So I am going to just make sure all of my expressions are in parentheses, and I'm just going to worry about this up here. Using crisscross applesauce, I'm going to subtract the fractions. So criss, 3 times x is 3x, minus, because there's a minus in the middle, cross, 3 times x plus h, I'll worry about the multiplication later, and then over applesauce, x times x plus h. And the whole thing is all over h, but we're not worried about that. We're just worried about simplifying up here. So we're going to bring down the 3x, and I'm going to distribute that -3 to the x and the h. So -3x minus 3h all over x times x plus h. And it's all over h as well. Okay, just worrying about, again, this part. You have 3x minus 3x, that's gone. So I'm left with -3h, sorry, I crossed that out, but there's a negative right there, over x times x plus h. Now, since we're done with this, now we can actually apply that it's being divided by h. Remember that you don't actually divide fractions. You do what's called keep, change, flip. So we keep the first fraction, we change it to multiply, and we flip this denominator. The fraction form of h is h over 1. So when I flip it, I get 1 over h. The h's will divide out, and this will leave me with -3 over x times x plus h. Okay, and that is the difference quotient. Watch your algebra, and I hope this helps.